everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Guys, I'm so excited to be back on your screens today. But before we go any further, I would please really appreciate if you guys could just click on that subscribe button at the bottom. And I'd also like for you guys to just share, and leave us lovely comments at the bottom, because those really encourage us to know that you guys are watching and you are learning something from the episodes. And also just to know that our videos are making an impact in your lives. So I really, really appreciate all of you that have subscribed already. Call on your friends, your family, everybody. Bring them onto the channel. I'm sure there's a thing or two that they can take from this channel. So today I'm joined by a special and lovely lady. I got to know her a couple of years ago and I fell in love with her. And moreover, I was so inspired by her journey, inspired by her story and what God has done in her life. And today I'm joined by the lovely Nominki. Oh girl, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to my channel.
Thank you for having me.
I've been, from the day I met you and from the day I actually knew that there's a story behind this amazing woman. I need to sit down with her, but I didn't know how God is going to bring it about. But you know what? God has led us to this and I'm so happy and excited to have you over. So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. So you know what? I know you, I know you from church. We go to the same church but there are a lot of people that don't know Nominki, that don't know who you are. So can you just start off by introducing who you are,
My name is Nominki. I'm a mother of two. I'm a born-again child of God. I love God with all of my heart. I'm a worshiper at Greek International Church, God Reigns International Church. In a nutshell, man.
That's who you are.
In a nutshell.
Okay. All right. No, it's good to have you over, sis. I'm so excited about the conversation we're about to have.
Yeah.
So I want you to relax. Relax, be yourself, and we're just gonna talk. And obviously, we have an audience that is going to be watching this, and we need to tell them what you've been through, but moreover, how you got through it all and how God restored you, God healed you. So for those of you that are joining us for the very first time, this channel brings on women from different walks of life, women that have been through the most. But above it all, we praise the name of the Lord for what he has done in their lives. And we say God heals, God restores, and you are not alone. So today we are going to talk about you and what you've been through. You're sitting here, you're looking beautiful, but I know that, there's history, there's things that you've been through that have made you the woman, the amazing person that you are today. So let's take it all the way back. Let's start from the beginning. I know your story is about, a broken marriage. You were once married, but now you're not, and you've got kids, you've got two lovely boys as well, So just take us through when you met him and how everything began.
Sure. Okay, so I met him in 2009 in Durban. We were a group of backing vocalists for Babulindela Mkhize, who had created like a group of people whenever he brings artists in Durban. He had a band, he had a group of singers. So it was the same thing this time. He was bringing them to come and do a launch in Durban of their albums. It was shortly after they did a show, a gospel show. So they were coming to launch their albums and we met there. We sort of like started talking 2 days after they got there.
Okay.
And before they left, he then asked for my numbers.
Okay. So sorry to cut you in. I just want to understand. So when you saw him the first time, did you?
No, it was not
anything, or
it was not. What is it called? Love at first sight.
Yeah,
definitely not.
Okay,
it was not. He was just, when I met him, he was just another guy, But I think what led him to start liking him as well was the conversation that we had.
Okay.
He started wanting to know a lot about me. Started asking questions about me. Who am I? Where am I from? Who are my parents? What do I do? And all the type of stuff.
And don't we like it when they show interest in us?
We do. And when we said, actually, it was a group of us, as I was saying, that it was a band and singers. It was a group of us, and then the attention started to come to me. And that's when he started asking me all these questions. And that's how things started, really, And before he came back to Johannesburg, like I said, he then asked for my numbers, that if you can keep in contact. And yeah, that's how we met.
That's how you
basically
met.
Yeah.
And after the Durban shows and all of that, that's when you guys continued with the conversation.
Yeah.
And by that time you were, from what I understood, you were still in KZN,
in Durban,
and he was this side.
Yes.
So then tell us how you got now to move now to Joburg.
I only moved. Okay, so before I moved, we started then talking and getting to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
And during our conversations or during our talks, that's when we started getting to know that we've got a lot of stuff in common.
Yeah.
He was going through some pain of a past relationship.
Yeah.
I was going through a pain of a past relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we got to understand each other at that point, and that's how we were talking at that point. And then
so you guys had common ground.
We had common ground,
which was pain.
Yes.
So would you say that both of you had maybe not healed yet from your past relationships?
I would say that. I would say at that point, especially at that point that we met, we hadn't completely healed. It was a year for me, I think.
Yeah.
And it was almost a year for him, and both our relationships at the time were relationships that were quite serious.
Yeah.
Relationships that were almost getting into a marriage.
Yeah.
For both of us.
Okay.
I was on that road. He was on that road. And so we sort of like found common ground based on that. And our chats and our conversations that we had at the time were just, how are you going through this? How are you healing? How are you, all of that stuff. Yeah, that's how we sort of like started being close.
Okay.
We started being close from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, looking back, at how the relationships, because I feel like how we start off, it paves the way, or rather it gives background to how far you also go.
Yeah.
And listening to what you just shared, you guys came together because of the pain.
Yeah.
That both, like there was something common between the two of you, which was pain.
Yeah.
So now looking back, like how important do you think it is, for one to heal before they move on?
Yeah.
And would you advise people that are both of them going through pain to come together now, to have that kind of a background when they're starting off in your relationship?
Foundation is deeply important. I wouldn't at all. I wouldn't advise for anybody to start a relationship like that, because at some point there's a time in the relationship it comes where everything is just gonna blow up.
Yeah.
Because from the beginning your foundation was not solid. Yeah. Your foundation was not based on the right things. Your foundation was solemnly based on you comforting each other. Yeah. And for us it was a long distance thing, but we knew when that day maybe you had a bad day.
Yeah.
I can call Nominki.
Yeah.
We can talk about it because she understands.
Yeah.
And same goes for me. I know I could call him because he understood.
Yeah.
He understood exactly how I was feeling at the time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say to anybody out there, start a relationship based on previous pain. Make sure you heal first before you start anything, because the foundation of the new relationship is very important, how you start it. Yeah.
Okay. So let's continue with the story. So, I mean, I know that eventually you had to move the side and he proposed, and also take us through all of that.
So, for the rest of the year, we were just talking and being friends. Then there was a show that we had. I was also singing with another lady, Swazi Lamini.
Yeah.
We had a show up here in August of that year.
Okay.
We came up. And I told him that I'm coming up to Johannesburg, and he was excited. He would like to see me and all of that. I'm like, okay, we can meet up just before the show. We then met up. I was up here at my cousin's place.
Yeah.
So he came to my cousin's place to come and visit, and we went out for a movie. We had dinner afterwards, and I think he picked some lousy movie that day that we didn't even finish.
Okay.
We watched the movie and then had dinner afterwards.
Yeah.
Then that's the day we actually, when we were sitting having dinner, had a much more detailed conversation.
Okay.
And we decided to start a relationship.
Okay. So this is after a year of you guys talking.
This is after 4 months of us talking.
Okay.
This is after we had the show in Durban.
Yeah.
This is after 4 months of us talking.
Okay.
Then we started the relationship in August. I went back to Durban, had a long distance thing, which was okay, which was fun. You know, we were talking every single day for hours.
How did you guys make it work though? Because I mean, for me, I've never been in a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
I'm a very I want you close to me type of a girl, you know. So like how do people make it work?
I think at the time we just wanted it.
Yeah.
And we made sure that it must work.
Yeah.
You know, in a way. Not fully working, but it must work.
Okay.
He then asked me in October, that was August, in October, he then asked me that he has a show and his family is going to be there.
Okay.
And he wants me to meet the family.
And this is after how many months now?
This is like August, September, October, 2 months.
Okay.
Then I'm like, oh, okay, I don't mind. I can come up, you know. And he booked everything and I came up, met the family. You know, the first time I met the family, I said to him after that show, I said to him, your mother doesn't like me. I could pick it up. The way she was reacting, the way she was. And the grandmother was very nice. You know, she was very nice in saying to me, we've been meaning to, you know, to meet you. He's been telling us about you and all of that. And he said to me, no, that's how she's like. She's that type of person. Don't mind her and whatever not. But it kept on bothering me.
Yeah.
I met the family. It's fine. Then on that weekend before I went back to Durban, and that's when he said, you know, he can't take this long distance relationship anymore. And that's when he proposed.
Okay.
And I said, yes.
Okay.
I said, yes, I went back to Durban.
Yeah.
Then it was now preparations for the wedding and, you know, meeting the family and lobola and all of that stuff. Following year, we had planned for our wedding to be in June. So following year, I moved to Johannesburg permanently in February.
Okay.
While we were preparing for the wedding. Got married.
So you leave everything
I leave everything.
Career, everything.
And the funny thing is, I was working and I was in HR in Nedbank at the time, and I was in a full position, like a permanent position. And I made the sacrifice of taking a contract position this side because we were already in the process.
All for love.
All for love. Pick up everything, you know, leave everything.
Yeah.
Leave my flat, leave everything. Because I had always been that girl who's independent, who had a job, who had a place, who had,
career.
you know, career. I've always been that girl. But I left it everything for love. Because I loved him, you know. I moved here in Feb while we were preparing for the wedding.
Yeah.
And that's when, I think at the time I was in Durban, I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, you know, I didn't have
pick up
anything because we were far apart.
Yeah.
And when I was here, that's when I started seeing funny traits of weird phone calls.
Okay. And are you picking this up before the wedding?
Before.
Okay.
I'm picking this up before.
Yeah.
But it would be like, no, she's a friend of mine. No, she's this. No, she's that. And the type of limelight as well that he was in, because he's a music person.
Yeah.
He was in stages and all of that. So it would be like it's attention from girls.
Yeah.
And it's not him per se, you know. And I said to him at the time,
what do you mean by that?
That's what he would say to me.
Okay.
You know, that it's not me per se, you know, the type of, you know,
also
industry
that's
I'm
the response
in.
he will give
yes.
you. Yeah.
And when I moved here, we were still not staying together because we're not married as yet, you know, but we would be together most of the time, you know. So he would speak like that it's not me per se, but it's the type of industry I'm in.
But then where do people get his numbers from? Like,
exactly. And that's what I would say to him, that, you know, what's important for me is whatever girls out there are doing, they will do, and you can't control it.
Yeah.
But what's important for me is how you react to all the inboxes, to the calls that you get, which you're saying you don't know how they're getting your number, you know. And honestly, those could have been red flags for me to say, Nominki, I'm still going to continue and get into this marriage while you getting stuff like this. But no, you know, girl is in love.
So did you consciously ignore the red flags, or did you maybe convince yourself that things are gonna get better, or, you know, like, what did you decide to do?
Would it be weird if I say I did both? Because I consciously made the decision that I'm gonna carry on. And also told myself that it's gonna get better when we get to the marriage.
But then, okay, you know, I feel like a lot of women do that. We do that. Like, we like, no, things are gonna get better. No, he's gonna change. Why do you think we do that to ourselves? Why do we think because when he marries me, then things are gonna change?
We get stuck in the fact that I'm about to get married. And also we get stuck by prioritizing other people, thinking about if I pull off, what are people gonna say? I've already, you know, had my parents publish this. You know, you think about a whole lot of things, which you are actually making things worse for yourself, because now at a later stage there's kids involved, there's a whole lot of stuff involved,
and you would rather deal.
You know, you would rather pull out when you see those things before things get even more deeper, you know. So that's why I'm saying, you know, I sort of like did both. I told myself that no, it's gonna be fine when we get married. He'll probably stop all this thing, you know. To my surprise, got worse.
It got worse,
you know.
And I know you shared with me that the evening just before your wedding day.
So fast forward now to June. You know, because we're still talking about that period of the preparations. Fast forward to June, the night before our wedding. We are sitting at Southgate Mall. And we are waiting for my parents because we were going to drive to the Val. So they're not quite familiar with Johannesburg. So we were waiting. And while we were waiting, we got separated earlier on because he went to go and fetch my dress after we were done with the rings and all of that. And after that period, I couldn't get hold of him at all.
So the
whole afternoon, because I think we went apart around 2ish when we was going back to Johannesburg, and after that, I think after an hour after that, I couldn't get hold of him at all. You know, and we sat there waiting for my parents to come, and in the evening, while we're still sitting there, a call comes in on my phone, and I pick up the call, and this is like what now, past 11 at night.
And by that time, you still can't get hold of him.
I still can't get hold of him.
You know, like, when you can't get hold of him, like, what's going through your mind? Like,
a lot is happening through my mind, because I'm thinking, where are you? Did you even pick up my dress? What's going on?
The thoughts you're having during that period, are they thoughts of, I'm worried about him, maybe he's not okay? Or are they thoughts of, what could he be doing because of, you know, all these other things that were happening prior?
It was thoughts of, who could you be with right now, because of everything that was happening that period. But on the other hand, because of also the people I was with, they were like, maybe something happened, you know, something is wrong. And I think that's only when I started thinking, okay, maybe, you know. But the first thoughts were, where are you? You know, why is your phone off? You know, where are you? Then that call came in, and I pick up the call. I was sitting with a friend of mine, and this girl says to me, hi, I'm looking for so and so. She was very nice, actually. She was not whatever funny and all. She greets me, and then she's like, I'm looking for this person. And I'm like, okay, why are you looking for this person? And she says to me, because he said to me, if I can't get hold of him, on his phone, I can use this number to get hold of him. Wow. I'm like, oh, really? Anyway, why are you looking for him? And then she was like, no, because I was waiting for him the whole day. He had said he's going to come and see me.
Sure.
I'm like, so this friend of mine starts seeing that something is going on in this phone call, and she could read my face.
Yeah.
Then she takes the phone and she's like, please don't call again. Just do not disturb her.
Had you shared with your friend like what had been happening previously?
Yeah, she was a close friend of mine back then, you know, and I had been sharing with her. And, you know, sometimes it's really important as well, the kind of friends we keep, I can say. Because in as much as I didn't want to admit to the truth.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I was not seeing.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming her as well.
Yeah.
It's not like I was not seeing, you know. But, you know, honest friends or true friends could have said, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do you really want to get into something like this, you know? She just shut her off, and she was like, don't call again. You know, this person is getting married tomorrow.
Yeah.
You are disturbing, and cut the call.
Yeah.
And at that time,
what's going through your
that
head?
I started pouring crying. You know, I started pouring crying. And actually, that's when I should have said, you know, this is the last straw. Nominki, you are not going through with this. But still, I'm like, my parents are on the way. We are sitting here because I'm waiting for my parents.
Yeah.
How do I say to my parents, after driving all the way from the Eastern Cape, 10 hours on the road, that there's no wedding tomorrow?
But then, I mean, isn't it so amazing how, you know, I know as children, because I was once in your shoes where I'm like, oh my God, my parents. But then eventually when you actually do speak to them, you are so shocked by their response that, you know what, had you stopped the wedding then, we would have supported you nevertheless.
You know, as you're saying that, funny enough, years after, now I'm fast forwarding. We're going to come back. Years after, when everything started crumbling, that's only when my mom said, you know, funny thing, Danam, the night before your wedding, I was not okay.
Sure.
I was not okay. The whole time we were on the road, I was not okay. To a point where I started getting sickly, like physically.
Sure.
And your dad was worried the whole time we were on. I started getting sickly. I think for me as a mom as well, it was a sign that this was not it. This was not it. And also my brother got an accident the night before. You know, all these red flags, but still go ahead.
And I mean, God even brought the red flag directly to you
me with that phone call. You know,
yeah. But I'm sure for your mom, I mean, had she said something maybe then, and maybe you decided to stop the wedding based on what your mom was saying or feeling at that moment, I feel like maybe at some point you would have blamed her to say, but maybe I should have just gone ahead. Don't you think that maybe it is a good thing that she let you be and you experienced your own, you know, your own journey, you know?
I think it is, because honestly, I think the way I was at, or the type of, you know, place I was at the time, I probably would have even ignored her.
Yeah.
My thinking, my mind, my heart, my whole being at the time was somewhere else, totally somewhere else. She would have said it. I would have listened to her, but I probably would have continued. I would have said, okay, Mama, I hear you, but we're going ahead because of the mindset I had at the time, you know?
Okay, so let's fast forward. So you get married to him. It's a beautiful
we get married. It's a beautiful day filled with family and friends.
Yeah. But at your wedding day, did you ever have thoughts of, oh my God, I'm doing this and I've gotten into this, there's no turning back now. And you know what, if this guy doesn't change, this is going to be my life.
That day, I knew exactly what I was doing. You know, for me, it was not about the wedding day. Yeah. I knew that whatever happens beyond this point, we're going to have to fight it together. Okay. And I had told myself, if it means that we fight the infidelity, I was willing.
You were willing
to do it with him, you know.
Yeah. I think we moved, we passed the part where eventually you get hold of him, Because remember, you were looking for him the whole day. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
You were looking for him the whole day. You couldn't find him. This girl calls you. Then eventually you went to his place actually.
Yeah. So after that phone call, when I just crumbled and cried, I don't remember who, but someone with the people I was waiting with said, maybe go and check. He was staying in Florida at the time. Yeah. Go and check at his place. We will stay here and wait for your parents. Yeah. And then when you find him, you guys can just travel. Yeah. I'm like, okay, fine. It was a good idea. We then left with someone else. And when we got there, I find him at his place. When I get there, he was there, sitting there. And, I think I remember myself crying when I walked through the door, and I found myself crying, and I'm like, where have you been? I've been looking for you. What happened to your phone? And all this question, I got a call, and I'm speaking all these things all at once. And he said to me, no, he lost his phone. When he went back to Johannesburg, someone stole his phone. He doesn't have a phone. And I'm like, okay, fine. What about this girl that called me? Who is she? Yeah. There was someone waiting for you. Yeah. And then, again, talk himself out of it, because it's a day before our wedding, right? Talk himself out of it. And he's like, no, I don't know who you're talking about. I didn't make any plans with anyone to go see anyone. Again, Nominki believes. Nominki believes. I'm like, oh, okay, let it slide again, and continued with the wedding the following day. Yeah. Had a beautiful day. Friends, family was there. It was awesome, man, and like I was saying just now, that for me that day, I knew exactly what I was doing. Yeah. And I had told myself that whatever may come, we will do it together. And also, I think the kind of person that he is, because in all of this, I can't really say that he's a bad person in character. Yeah. I can't really say he's a bad person. He's really not a bad person. And he treated me so well. He treated me like a queen. Anything and everything I wanted, I got. But he had this thing that he was just doing that was hurting me to the core, to a point where I literally lost myself. Yeah. Literally lost who Nominki was. Literally lost my self-esteem for the longest of time during our marriage. After we got married, I got pregnant and all of that stuff. I believed that I was the ugliest person ever.
Why? Why did you believe that? Was it something that he was saying to you, or you just now had that low self-esteem where maybe because of what he was doing, you started to question whether you're enough for him? And
I started to question myself. I started to question myself, and low self-esteem based on the stuff that he was doing. I would ask myself, I would stand in front of the mirror and ask myself, am I not beautiful? I gained weight because I had a child with him, his child, which was a pride for him because he had a boy, but when did I start not being enough if he goes outside to these girls? It was an emotional thing for me, and people will be like, you're beautiful, but I didn't see it because of what he was doing. Yeah. And now because of his actions, they started reflecting that on me. Yeah. Like I started feeling otherwise.
Why do you think we carry that load as women, where his actions now define how we see ourselves? Like his wrongdoing, or whatever he's doing out there, now becomes what we carry. We now see ourselves as not enough, as I'm not beautiful enough. Now we start defining our own beauty based on his bad actions.
Sure. For us as women, we are those people that are nurturers and that are, that give your all. Yeah. I can say it like that. So whatever you come in with in a marriage, you give it 100%. And those we are created like that, unfortunately. We are those type of people. Yeah. And when your husband does something negative to you, you just feel like it's you. Then you are not enough. which is a wrong mentality altogether, which is a wrong thinking. And it took me years to get out of it.
Yeah.
It took me years to regain my self-esteem because my thinking and my mentality was based on him. His actions.
Yeah.
Because I just had this thing of belief that the way he looks at me
is what I am.
What I am.
Yeah.
The way he views me as a woman is what I am.
Yeah.
And already my body changing from having a child.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something wrong with me.
So, I mean, looking back and maybe, talking to younger women, how important is identity in a marriage? Self-identity, not identity that is being defined by this institute that you're in, identity that is defined by how your husband looks at you, but identity that you know who you are despite, your surroundings.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you were to talk to your younger self, maybe even, like, what would you say regarding that?
Hectically important. I would even say identity before you even get to it.
Yeah.
It's important to know who you are. What are your ambitions? What are your goals?
Yeah.
What is your destiny?
Yeah.
Because I totally forgot about Nominki. It was all about him.
Yeah.
Totally forgot. And especially when I got in, everything was about him. Everything was about pleasing him.
Yeah.
His career was booming. His career was this. And I just needed to be that supportive wife that is always there. Forgetting Guti, mina ngiubani, mina ngifunani, mina ngiubani kuNkulunkulu. What is the destiny God has for my life, which I need to fulfill?
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that. It was just the wife, the mother, support structure, at some point his manager, all of that. Totally forgot about me. Identity of who you are, even before you get in, because if you know yourself before you get in, you will not lose it when you get inside.
I think we get so excited about the idea of getting married, the idea of being a wife,
too much,
of being a mother, and we forget to work on ourselves before we get into that institute. Because I know, and I've seen and I've heard that, and that institute, if you don't strongly maintain your identity, it's easy, especially for a woman. It's easy because we have so many responsibilities. Because even the Bible says the wife builds them, so you've got so much responsibility.
Yeah.
But at the same time, can we not lose who we are as we carry, as we fulfill our responsibilities as women? Okay, let's move forward now. So I know you got pregnant with your first son, and you have two sons. Then you got married with your second son as well.
Yeah,
and I think that's when all hell broke loose as well.
Like I mentioned before that, when I moved here, then I moved in a contract.
Yeah.
So I got my first son. Then at a time where now I'm like, I want to go back to work because I've never been a housewife type of a person. At a time where then I wanted to go back, my son was 11 months. Okay. Then I got to find out that I'm pregnant again. Yeah. And he was like, no, baby, let's sit at home. I can maintain you guys. And you can't really go back to work while you're pregnant. And during that period, I think it even worked good for him because he was the one that was always on the road, always not at home, always, and I'm being at home, being a mom. So he could do his cheating and his whatever nicely while he's on the road. It hadn't stopped, to answer your question. It hadn't stopped. Yeah. Had my second son, it hadn't stopped. Yeah.
And this started affecting your health as well.
It started affecting my health because I would wonder, like to a point, there was one night that he didn't come back home. And I would hyperventilate, like palpitations where I'm like...
And you're pregnant at that time?
I'm pregnant during pregnancy and all of that, to a point where I was admitted in hospital because my baby was not moving the whole day because of the stress. Sure. The doctor said to me, what is going on? I had to tell the doctor that I'm going through this such stress. This is what is happening in my marriage. This is what my husband is doing.
So when you go to the doctor, is he there with you?
He was there.
Yeah.
He was there, but you know, a person that is distracted.
Yeah.
You are here physically, but he's sort of like distracted. He's like, you are not here, but
And
you are here.
how did he feel about you sharing with the doctor what's causing the stress?
He was not there when I was talking to the doctor.
Okay.
He was outside when I was talking to the doctor. Doctor asking me what's going on, and it's only when we got there, because even the doctor went to buy me a chocolate. Sugar sometimes, makes them shake up. He went to buy me a chocolate and comes back and does the heartbeat thing. And that's when I started hearing the baby's heartbeat. And then asked me what's going on, because you are so stressed. My blood pressure was on a high. And he's like, you're going to lose this baby if you carry on like this. And I think that's one of the things that started clicking, that Nominki, Sissy, you are not okay. You are not okay. How long are you gonna keep doing this to yourself? But at the same time, at the back of my mind, I'm like, what am I gonna do now with these 2 children? Because remember, I haven't even gone back to work.
Yeah.
One is a couple of months back. I say actually, I'm pregnant with another one. What am I gonna do with these children? You start thinking like, this man is your whole life. This man is everything. Your life revolves around his.
It depends on him.
It depends on him.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? I continue. Have the second child with him here. And that's what we do to ourselves as women most of the time.
Yeah. And I mean, this went on to a point where you were even diagnosed with depression.
Now, I got diagnosed with depression when, after Junior's birth.
Yeah.
Junior is 2012, following year, 2013. During the December period, I was at his home, Kotizing, Following year, I then decide in Feb. God had done something so great, because after Junior's birth, I started, I'm not going to be this girl. Then I started applying again, Then following year, Feb, I decide that I'm going to go home and go see my family.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen them in December. I go home. My brother's wife had just given birth actually to their child. So I'm like, let me go see the family, and as well. I go home. I come back.
You when you go home, you leave the kids with his grandmother.
So I take the kids, because it was like a week.
Yeah.
I take the kids to not his mother, to his grandmother. Because that's one person that loved me to the core. Because I didn't want to travel with them, and and it was just for a week. I take the kids to the grandmother, and I go home. Week after, I come back. When I get home, when people say we've got the sixth sense.
Yeah.
I literally got out the car, got into the kitchen door from the garage, and I was like, someone has been in my house.
Sure.
Literally, when I walked in, someone has been in my house, and I started looking around. I went straight to our bedroom. I get into our bedroom, and our bed is not done. Like, sheets were changed. And when I left, I did everything. I cooked, put food in the fridge, because he was busy with studio that week. Put food in the fridge. I changed linen, just so you don't,
Yeah.
for like a week. I come back, and linen is changed. I go to the other room to check the basket of the washing that Auntie had washed. And I see that whatever that she had washed and left, the others that she did not wash were still there.
Yeah.
So only the sheets
From your bedroom.
from my bedroom were washed.
Yeah.
And when I walked into my bedroom, that feeling of someone has been in my house, I felt it even more.
Yeah.
The kids' bedroom, I found a leather jacket, a lady's leather jacket.
Yeah.
That's when all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
That you do this all these years, you make it worse, and bring this person to my house, in my bed, where I sleep. I think that's just when I lost it. I lost it. I called his mother that evening, and I said to her, if your son is gonna continue like this after all these years, I didn't call my mom, I called his mother first. After all these years that I have stayed, I have begezelad, you know, and you guys haven't done anything about it, because not that during this period there were no family meetings, they were. And but every single time.
Was your family also involved? Like,
no, it was mostly his family, you know. There were family meetings, but most of the time I would be told that, okay, don't touch his phone. Okay, don't answer the phone. Okay, don't get into his social media. Okay, don't. Me. What about what your son is doing?
Yeah.
Why don't we address the root cause of what's happening here?
Yeah.
I said to her, if this is what he's going to continue doing, then I am done. I can't do this anymore. Like, I am tired. I am exhausted.
Yeah.
She said to me, no. Like, casually like this. No, and that's even when I saw that it's not going to happen. That evening, he didn't come back as well. Didn't come back until the morning. He walks in the house around 4 a.m. in the morning. I could hear the garage opening, driving in. And he got in, opened the TV to watch TV. And the way I was boiling, I couldn't wait, you know. I went to him, and I sat next to him, and I said to him, what do you want in life, Nje? What is it that you want? Do you want this family? Do you want me and the boys? What is it that you want? He looked at me, kept quiet. I'm like, tell me what you want. Like, talk to me. Let me know. He looked at me and kept quiet. And I said to him, okay, go. Because if you're acting like this, you're definitely telling me that you don't want to be part of this. He got up. Before he got up, I stood up because I was standing on top of him. I stood up and I'm looking at him. It's like, what is it that you want? He got up and I'm already like pressing and I'm starting to shout because I'm frustrated. He pushed me to the couch and he got out.
So you fell on the couch?
I fell on the couch. He pushed me to the couch and he got out. Got into the car and drove off. Started crying. I went into the shower. I started bathing, preparing for work. And that's the point I wanted to make, that God had made a miracle, because for all these years I was not working. And God opened a door for me to find a job. In what I've always loved, in HR, because I'm passionate about people. And God opened that door. I started working. Started working in April of 2013. This is happening now in Feb 2014. And then he leaves. I started preparing for work. I went to work. During the course of the day, I get a call from one of the girls. She says to me, why did you chase him out? It's his house too. It's his house too. And I say to her, and this is none of your business. Where do you get in this? And then she's like, it's his house too. It's his children too. It's you shouldn't have chased him out. And then I said to her, you've always wanted to be Mrs., right? So I'll take off my ring and give it to you, and you can be married to him. In the meantime, make sure that you open your wardrobe, your drawers, and make room for his clothes, because he's gonna come and stay with you. And I closed the phone. He tried calling me again. She tried calling me again, but I didn't answer. That night, he didn't come back. Following day, he didn't come back. 3 days, he didn't come back. And that's when I knew that it's done, it's over.
You know, you're a child of God. And those nights when he's not coming back, Like, what do you even say to God? Like, how do you even pray? Like, what were your words to God during that time? If you were even able to pray, because I know we sometimes go through so much and we just don't even know what to say to God.
Firstly, to go back to a question you asked me before, I was heavily depressed to a point where I was admitted in hospital. And the doctor put me on antidepressants because I was crying nonstop because I'm asking myself that, Lord, I know you had given me red flags. I ignored them. I ignored them. But where are you? Where are you? I'm in a deep point of pain at that time. I'm totally depressed, you know, and he's left me in this house, and this house was so big for me alone. And also, remember, I had taken my kids to the grandmother. And I don't know how then my kids were with his mother. Ne? And now they started not wanting with my kids. When I'm calling, she doesn't pick up, you know. My lawyer at the time said to me, you know, you are more than in the right place to go and pick up your kids because they are yours. But from what she has done, because she went to social workers, it just felt like this thing they were in cahoots with the son. She went to social workers. I don't know what she said to the social workers. I received a letter that I must appear in front of social workers for whatever. My lawyer says to me, you don't have to go there. These are your kids. But I want to protect you because you might go there and then you will find people. They will attack you, or she can lie and say you attacked her, which will be another story now for us to fight. Let us fight it legally because there is no judge, no magistrate that will not give you your kids. That was the longest 3 months of my life.
So they kept the kids for 3 months?
For 3 months. That was the long, because now we have to do this process. Longest 3 months, because this happened in Feb. Actually, it was towards end of Feb. So I can say March, April, May. Longest 3 months of my life. And my son was turning 2 in March. Couldn't even do a birthday for him because he was not here. I was crying that day. We eventually went to court, and I think, you know, that man that we found was a godsend because he didn't waste much time. The magistrate. He didn't waste much time. We got there and he asked my lawyer, what's going on here? And my lawyer just gave him pinpoints, high level, that it's a separation, possible divorce matter. Now, the mother had gone home for like a week and took her kids to the grandmother because she didn't want to travel with them. And now when she comes back, this happens, and then the family doesn't want with the kids anymore. And now she wanted her kids back, but we decided that we're going to take this route just to cover ourselves, because in the process she got a letter from the social workers. That magistrate literally looked at him and he said,
looked at who?
At him, my ex-husband. Looked at him and he was like, did you sleep with your mother? And he was like, no. And then he's like, how dare you take kids, on top of it worse, a 2-year-old from her mother for this long? And he started saying, no, it was because, like, I don't want to hear it. I'm done. Actually closed the file and he was like, I'm done. I want those kids with her today. Like, when we finish here, I want those kids with her today. And he was like, I'm gonna need to travel back home to the Val, and it's gonna be a long drive. By the time I get there and we need to come back, my younger son would have been sleeping. And the magistrate looks at me and he's like, do you agree with this? Is this fine? I'm like, yeah, no, my son sleeps quite early. So by the time they come back, it would really be late, and I wouldn't want him to be sleeping in the car. And he was like, okay, just because she agrees, then I'm going to allow it. But by 12 o'clock cut off tomorrow, I want to get a phone call saying she's got her kids. And that's how I got my kids back. And it was so emotional that I had to go to court to fight for the kids that were coming from me because of you. it was so emotional for me. But, you know, God being great, if I can put it like that, my parents were there. My lawyer was so supportive, but it was a really trying time.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was still dealing with the depression as well, because I was still on antidepressants.
Yeah.
And looking at him there, it was breaking my heart that I moved to Johannesburg for you. I left my job for you. I kept myself, because I was raised like that from my family. I kept myself as a young girl in the Lord. I kept myself as a virgin in the Lord for when I get married, my husband can, you know.
Yeah.
And I felt like all of that was in vain, was for nothing.
Were you ever angry at God?
I was to a certain extent, but at the same time blaming myself that you can't entirely blame God, you know, because you had all the red flags. You decided to ignore them. But at the same time, I just felt like God, you should have just came and shaken me or something, you know. I was to a point where during that period, I started drinking hardcore. And this is a girl that grew up from a Christian home. As Assemblies of God, my dad is a pastor. My mom is in women ministry. I grew up like that. I'm that girl.
Church girl,
But the stress, the pain, the hurt, the anger was consuming me at the time. A friend of mine I was sitting with her at work on the Friday. She came and she brought a bottle of wine, you know. And she was like, you cried too much today. I couldn't handle it. Drink this bottle. I'm like, girl, I don't drink. Remember that? She was like, drink that and sleep. And she left. And I looked at this bottle. I'm like, but in the evening, I started pouring a bottle. And I drank that whole bottle. But the whole year of 2014, 2015, 2016, I can say I was a hardcore alcoholic. Hardcore. Didn't stop with wine. It was gin, anything, everything, just to numb the pain.
And did it?
For a period. Remember, alcohol is not, you know, for that period where you want to sleep, because I'm depressed, I can't sleep. So alcohol would do that. You sleep. You wake up in the morning, pain is still there. Everything is still there.
Sure.
So it's useless for you to drink, because it's not like the following day you're gonna wake up and the pain is gone, the hurt is gone. It's not gone. It's still there.
I want us to. There was something you shared when we spoke. There's something you shared when one of the days. I think it's the day you actually went to hospital. You came back and he came in. You were watching TV. He came in, he starts...
It was a Saturday.
And that's before you moved out, right?
That's before I left the house. Yes, that's before the court. It was before I left the house, because, like I was saying, that before I even worked, God had elevated him. He was doing quite well. So we had moved to a beautiful home and all of that. But when he left, it became too much for me to maintain alone. So while I was still in it, preparing that I'm gonna leave maybe in 2 months or whatever, he comes through on a Saturday, and I'm sitting there drinking my chamomile tea, because the doctor said try, you know, drinking chamomile tea to calm you down and all of that. I'm drinking my chamomile tea Saturday morning, and I heard the garage opening. He still had keys to the house. I heard the garage opening, and he came through. He opens the door. I look at him. He doesn't even greet, right? He comes in, and he had bought this huge TV. He comes in, he started, I'm watching TV. I'm sitting having a cup of tea, watching TV. He comes in, started unplugging the TV.
Wow. I
sat there and I kept quiet. You know, at that point, like, I could literally hear the Holy Spirit say to me, shut up. You keep your mouth shut. I kept quiet, started unplugging the TV. Maybe he was telling himself that I bought it cash,
This is mine.
You last number of, it's mine. Started unplugging the TV, and then he started unplugging the PVR as well. Then he takes the TV, as heavy as it is, to the car, takes it to the car. And then when he walked back, he went to the room.
Yeah.
I think he had forgotten about the PVR. Went to the room and started unpacking his clothes. I could hear noises, and then I stood up and I went. I'm like thinking, I'm still here. So
okay, so all of this is happening. He's getting the stuff from the house. He's picking his clothes. Was there any discussion with you guys that we are separating or he's moving out? Did you guys
at that point, no. He was just being, himself, being dramatic at that time. Like I was saying earlier on, that I was hearing things banging in the bedroom. He was just collecting stuff, quiet. Like how he just took the TV. He was just quiet. And he took the stuff, got into the car, and he left. No discussion, nothing. We didn't say anything to each other.
Where are you when he leaves the house? Like, how are you emotionally and what are you thinking?
Literally, when he left, I broke down again, and that's when I called my mother and I told her what was happening, what just happened actually, that he just left, he came here, took the TV and took his clothes. And I think for me, that was a sign already that it's done. It's over, him taking his clothes. And my mom was like, don't worry, my child, just go and buy yourself another TV and just come down for the sake of your health, and that was it,
So I want to ask you this. So, like with my previous guest, she mentioned that had he not left, she wouldn't have, And I want to ask you the same thing. Like, if at that point he had not come home, taken the stuff and left, do you think he would have walked away from the marriage?
At that time, probably not. Probably not. I was still open to, let's sit, let's talk. Let's get counseling.
So you still felt like he's going to change?
Yeah. Still blinded. I was still, in as much as I was seeing that, Nominki, you need to get out of this. This is not it. This is not life. You can't be staying in something like this because it was toxic. But I still was like, I'm hopeful. Maybe it's gonna change.
Is this because you're scared of the future? You're scared of what's on the other side of you walking out of your marriage?
I didn't want to lose my family.
Okay.
I didn't want to lose what we had built. I didn't want to lose, like in spite of everything that he was doing, who we were to each other. I still didn't want to lose that. I still loved that to the core. And me actually realizing that this is not it, but me actioning it was something else. Me taking the action was something else. So
eventually he leaves, and I mean,
it becomes
like
clear.
The last straw for the marriage.
It becomes clear that
he never came back. Then.
Never came back. It was clear then that it's over. When he took everything, and he actually had started being so arrogant at the time, because I remember my brother calling him. When I then was talking to my family, and he bluntly told my brother that it's not your business. It's things of my family, and I've made a decision. I've left. So what?
So you were never afforded the opportunity to ask him why.
I never had that opportunity because at the time when he was very arrogant, we were not talking at all. If we happened to talk, it was during SMSs, and it was that thing. We were shouting at each other with messages. But us sitting down and having a normal conversation and having an adult conversation that why did you do everything that you did? Why were you hurting me this much? We never had that until he wrote me an email following year in October, and he admitted to everything, and he was like, he's sorry. for everything. He's sorry that he never listened to me. He's sorry for the extra marital relationships that he kept. He never meant to hurt me. I've always been important to him. He's always loved me. I've always been that woman that has always grounded him. But he just couldn't stop. And he's sorry. He wants us to raise our kids and blah, blah, blah. But when he did, I had already made the decision that I can never go back.
So there's something that you say there. He says, I never meant to. I have a huge problem with that statement.
Yeah.
Especially when things were repeating. It's not like it was a once-off thing which then stopped. But then if you're going to repeatedly, continue with the behavior, and then at the end you say, I never meant to hurt you. I personally have a problem with those kind of words, because for me, if it was not your intention, then you would have stopped. Because then you realize that, you know what, I'm hurting
there's something
her.
wrong you're doing.
There's something wrong I'm doing to her. But then if you're going to continuously do it, and then you come back and you say, I did not mean to hurt you.
I do too. And I did, even back then. That's why I didn't respond to that email. Because part of me was still very angry and still very hurt, and was still dealing with a lot of emotions that I was feeling. I didn't respond to that email. I only responded to that email in 2017.
After how long?
That's like 3 years
later
down the line. That's only when I started getting my healing. That's only when I started healing. Only back then. Only then I sent an email on that email that he sent to me, and I said, I forgive you. That's the only thing I wrote.
Before we go to the healing part, so you did mention that you guys were living comfortably, right? You had a comfortable home and a comfortable house and all of that. And now, obviously, when he now walks out, you now had to carry the burden of the house.
Doing everything.
Right? And then I know that eventually then you had to move out. And obviously, maybe it was to a smaller space. So how is that emotionally? I mean, for you also as a mother, also, and the kids as well, how did you feel?
It was heavy. I had to adjust from living a certain life to me being alone, and moving from the house to a smaller flat, and also not having some things, because from then I didn't have the car. But for me, it was not a priority, because now this man has left me with 2 children. My 2 kids needed to be a priority. Me having a car was not a priority at the time, because I needed to make sure that these 2 children are covered, are fine in every aspect of it, school, everything.
So he
was not doing anything till this day. He does nothing. And I made a conscious decision. The last time, I don't remember which year it was. The last time I called him, and I had needed help with something, and I said concerning the kids and just our well-being in around the house, and I called him and I said, I'm short this month. I need your help in something. I think I did even mention it over the phone, and he said to me, you see fit, you will see what to do. And from that day, I've never bothered him. I've never called him and said, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I started a process that drained me, because friends, family were like, you can't carry this burden alone. It's a lot with 2 children. Maybe take him to court, do a maintenance thing. I started the process. It drained me to the core, because when I got there, I would be looking around and seeing people that are here. I'm like, Lord, when did I get to this? I'm sitting here and people's names are when did I get here? And I stopped it. I'm like, you know what? If he doesn't want to be a father, if he doesn't want to contribute towards his children's well-being, then so be it. He will answer at a later stage, because, even my mom was like, don't worry yourself, continue what you need to do. We're still here as your parents. We're gonna support you. He will answer to them, because they will ask him, where have you been? We've been suffering with umama and you haven't been around. Where have you been?
And God is faithful. Hey?
God is faithful.
The word of God says that he's a father to the fatherless.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that when it says a father to the fatherless is only to those that have lost their fathers.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe they've passed on or whatever, but also for the absent fathers,
Yeah.
you know, God becomes a father. And I believe that your kids are well taken care of.
Yeah.
Your kids are happy.
Very much so.
know.
With my dad being in the house, around the house, my brothers, because they are closer to home than I am, they've found fathers in them.
Yeah.
They are present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now as we wrap up, I want us to just talk about the healing process. So in your journey, you went through depression, you went into alcohol to try and numb the pain for that moment, you know. And I just want to understand, I know that also there was a point where you blamed yourself that, you know what, I could have done better. I could have stopped this before it got, you know, to this point. Have you forgiven yourself?
I have. Okay. I had to, it took me years though. Took me years to get to that point. I had to start forgiving the decisions that I made that led me to that point.
How do you forgive? Because how do you forgive yourself? Like, how was the process you had to follow? Or was it a prayer you made? Like, how did you do it?
For me, I had to start identifying the things that made me angry about me.
Okay.
And the biggest of all is the decision that I made, you know, in spite of everything that I saw that was red flags. So I had to start sort of like going back and rethinking those decisions and start forgiving myself for those decisions that I made. But also, you know, saying to myself, Guti, if it hadn't been for what happened, I wouldn't have my 2 kids, which are my life right now. So now
you found things to be grateful for.
Yeah, to be grateful for in the midst of that, which are my life. You know, those 2 boys are everything for me, to me, you know. My life revolves around making them happy. Yeah.
And have you forgiven him?
I have. For him as well, it took me a lot. Took me years to forgive him. But I realized that if I don't go through the steps of forgiving him, I'll never be happy. Because I'll carry that burden of unforgiveness while he carries on with his life. You know, so I had to start also going through the journey of identifying the anger. You know, where did he anger me the most? Me losing my self-esteem, me, you know, all of those stages, and to forgive him for my sake. I think forgiveness gives you so much peace. Give you so much peace, because at that time I didn't have peace at all. I was always constantly, how could you? So I had to go through that process so that I can forgive him.
And do the kids, I mean, maybe for the older one, do they ever ask you where he is?
Not anymore.
They used to.
Not anymore. They used to, especially when they would see the car that we had at the time, that looked like that one. He'll be like, "There's Daddy," and it's not, you know. But at a certain point, I think they started realizing that, you know what?
How did it make you feel, like when they
it will tear my heart apart. It would tear my heart apart. Even now, my son, whenever anybody talks about him around him, he literally just shuts down. Like it's either he moves from that conversation or from that area where people are talking about him, or it's like he's not hearing anything, you know, because for him at the time, he was 4? So he knew exactly what it's like to be with mom and dad. Wake up in the morning, he gets into our room, he's jumping on top of our bed while I'm preparing for work. Maybe for Junior, because for him, he's still love his dad, and he was very young. But my oldest son knows exactly. He's the one that's like, type of thing, you know? Yeah.
That's hectic. And I mean, from everything, Nominki, that you've been through, you know, God allows us to go through these things,
Yeah.
and there are always lessons that
Yeah.
we learn, from every journey. No matter how painful it is, there are those things that we can take for the next season to say, I'll do better in my next season. I'm gonna change 1, 2, 3. And I mean, if you were to talk to our viewers, those that are watching, like, what have you learned and what can you pass on to the younger generation even?
I would tell a younger lady out there, or even my younger self, that never compromise who you are for people. Number one, because I carried on with the wedding because I was thinking, what are people going to say? And also the second thing is, never lose yourself. Never lose your identity. Never lose your purpose. Never lose the destiny that God has for your own life. Because it's not like it's about the next person. It's about the man. It's about his ambitions, his goals, and his everything. And you lose what you need to fulfill about your life, because God has a purpose for all of us on this earth. God has a destiny that we all need to fulfill. So I would say to a younger girl out there, to a younger woman out there, know exactly who you are in God. Know exactly what your identity is in God, and fulfill that, and you will not lose who you are when you get into a marriage.
Amen. And I mean, I know you as a worshiper. And I remember when I came to our church, to God Reigns International, I told you, from the beginning, and I said, girl, listen here, I don't know your story, but there's something behind your worship. There's a deeper thing, man, that's going on. Whenever you hold that mic, I can feel that this woman, and
that's one thing I lost, by the way.
Did you?
In the midst of being married to him, totally lost that. I was not that person.
Because I wanted to ask you that, as a worshiper, what is the one song maybe that would pick you up, when you were going through everything in your marriage?
I remember this one time going to work, and there was a song playing in the car that said, Ntate Kimang. And that song would carry me through the hardest of times. It would make me cry. And I remember this one time I was sitting on the floor calling my mother before I went to hospital, calling my mother, and I was hyperventilating and my temperature was on a high. And that's when my mom called. The pastor was trying to intervene at the time. The pastor called the ambulance. I sat on the floor and that song was ringing in my head. And I couldn't breathe. Literally, I couldn't breathe. That day, I actually thought I was dying, because my heart was pounding so bad. I actually thought, Mihamba Miguel, it's your last day. The way my heart was pounding. And at the back of my mind, that song was playing in my spirit.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what's your song to God now, after everything?
Oh, Jesus, I love you. He has been good. I wouldn't be here, literally. I wouldn't be standing if it wasn't for his grace.
Sure.
I think of where he's brought me from, and from hospital, from thinking I'm about to die, from having feelings of I'm not enough, to knowing that, Nominki, you're beautiful. Nominki, you are enough. Nominki, you are everything a man that is ordained by God for you can be. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
He's taken me through a time when like I felt like I was nothing, you know, and it's really by God's grace. Like you are saying that when you got to Greek, I remember when I got to Greek, Pastor approached me and said, "Can you join the worship team?" And I said to him, "No, not yet. I'm not ready. I am not ready at all." And he kept on coming, like, "Please join the worship team." I remember his appreciation. They asked me to sing, and I sang, you know. And after that, he was like, "Please join the worship team, please." And I was like, "I'm not ready, Pastor." Like you're saying, when you got to Greek, at that point, it was when I was like, I know where you've taken me from. I know that I literally would even be here if it wasn't for your grace. Would even be holding this mic if it wasn't for me regaining me regaining my purpose, me regaining, fulfilling my destiny. It's only because of you. So you're great. You are awesome. You are wonderful. You are everything to me.
Sure. Nominki, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey, sharing your story. I believe that God has brought you this far for a reason.
Yeah.
And God has allowed you to go through it all for a reason, because I believe that God has the power to stop things, you know. But I was actually listening to Stephen Fatick, and he was saying that God is in control of everything, but he doesn't always take control.
Yeah.
Because he wants us, because he's given us the power, you know, to decide what we want in our lives, to make the decisions, you know.
Yeah.
God had the power to stop, you know, the whole wedding, you know, to stop everything, but he didn't, you know.
Yeah.
And I believe that everything you've been through is for a time such as this, is for this generation.
Yes.
And I know that you've started, you know, sharing your journey, you've started sharing your story. And my prayer for you is that may your story reach many people.
Amen.
May it not just be a story,
Amen. Yeah.
you know, but may it be something that picks up somebody.
Amen.
May it be a journey that saves lives. May it be a journey that stops other people from making the same mistakes, you know, from ignoring the signs that we see, and, you know, and all of those things. So thank you so much. And may your journey continue. May you blossom. You know, what is happening? Where are you? Are you happy? What's happening in your life?
I am so happy in being me. I'm so happy in being myself. You know, because like I was saying, that I only started that journey of regaining me only in 2017. So I am so happy in knowing ukuthi Nominki ubani, you know, started from scratch, knowing ukuthi Nominki ubani, what does she want, and fulfilling i-purpose kaNkulunkulu enginayo anayo for my life. Even way before even thinking that, Lord, you will make a way again for me to get married again. No, just fulfilling my happiness and being happy by myself. You know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, I hope you're blessed, and I hope that you've learned something from Nominki's journey. Like we always say, that we share our journeys not for entertainment, but rather, you know, to save lives, rather to show that God does heal, God does restore. So we are saying to you, you are not alone. And if you're watching this and you've never received Christ as your Lord and your Savior, I want you to make this prayer with me right now. And after we make the prayer, please do inbox me if you've made that prayer with me, because I would love to carry this journey with you. And I want you to repeat this prayer after me. Father, in the name of Jesus, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity that you've given to me to accept you in my heart as my Lord and my Savior. I stand today and I say, Jesus Christ is King and Jesus is Lord over my heart. I receive you into my heart. I receive you into my life in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. If you have prayed that prayer with me, please do inbox me so that we can go on this journey together where we seek the kingdom of God together. Be blessed, guys, and remember, you are not alone.